Hello, my dears. This is your favorite purple lady, Amethyst Lady, back again with another Legends of Runeterra video. Today we are going to do a deep dive into the makings of my favorite deck to run, which I've called Bleed for Me. I want to rework this deck, so I've called upon Bedtimebuddy and Omegastryfe, both platinum ranked players, to help me out. Before we begin, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up and smash the subscribe button for more awesome gaming content. The format was done so you feel like you're right there with us as we go through the cards in each video. Let's get right into it. Speaking of Alpha Wildclaw, we have one right here. I love this card.
Me too.
I absolutely love this card. I have two of them. They come out when I need them. They have Overwhelm. They have great stats. I love this card. I almost feel like I want to put another one in. But, yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah. So I think that's exactly where it should be. Mm-hmm. I think 2 is where it's a good spot.
Yeah.
It is competing with the Darius' 6 slot.
Mm-hmm.
You can also draw it with the Babbling Bjerg.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You never hate dropping it with 6 mana. You never hate dropping it at the end of the opponent's turn, at the start of your turn. It's always a good card because you either drop it on the start of your turn, and when you allow your opponent to play a card, usually it's not going to have the same stat values as Alpha Wildclaw, so you still have the advantageous board positioning. And I just think it's a great card. I don't think it should be a 3 of because of the fact that it's competing with Darius.
Right.
I think 2 is exactly where it should be.
Sweet spot. Okay.
Yeah. Not too much to say. I think it's a great card. I think it's really great at 2. I would consider pulling it entirely though because you do have similar effects around this drop range. So you have Darius, who's big beefy with Overwhelm. You have Alpha Wildclaw, big beefy with Overwhelm. Scarmother, big beefy with Overwhelm. And then Trinamir, big beefy with Overwhelm. So you have about like 8 cards of deck slots that all have the same presence, if you will. But the thing is that this is a mid to late game deck.
Right.
So you want to overwhelm, not to, be kind of cheesy about it. You want to overwhelm them with your drops late game. Like, all right, you dealt with that. Can you deal with this? Are you dealt with that? Can you deal with this? Are you dealt with that? Can you deal with this? And then if they can't, then the answer is going to be them blocking and taking 4 to 5 damage every time they decide to block one of your guys.
Yep.
So I like this card. I like it at 2. The only reason I would take it out would be to add 3s in other places. That's the only reason I would even remotely consider taking it out.
Fair. All right. Next we have Scarmother. Cares about her scarred children. She's brought me a lot of value. When she survives damage, and this is per tick of damage, so separate damage, she gets +3. So it's just she has Overwhelm. She's won me games. It's been great having her. I have 2 of her, and I've been happy with her. I can proc her if I need to. She works with Vlad.
Yeah.
Like her and Vlad even have a dialogue. So it's meant to be. I love her in my deck, and thoughts.
Deck is built around her. I like it. The only question is, do you add a 3rd?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I would say I think that's a pretty good 2 of. Great card, great value. I think 2, as Hulu said, maybe consider a 3rd. I think 2 is a great spot for it.
Yeah, but obviously you third up a lot of other places before you get to
you get to that. I think just because of the tempo and the mid-range part of the deck, I think that's. I mean, if you drop her into a situation where the opponent has 2 or 3 or 4 cards, she could trade favorably and then come back with an Overwhelm and attack back with a 6/7 or a 6/6, and it's just great. She's great.
Question for you: do you third her up in favor of having 2 Wildclaws?
No.
Is it better to have her on the board than a Wildclaw in this deck?
No, I think there are situations where you would rather have a 7/6 already, because even if she gets damaged to 1, she becomes a 6/7 as opposed to a 7/6,
and
without having to be triggered.
it might be better.
But I
6-7
think
might be a better stat line.
I agree because I think health is more important.
But because
I
you have
think
to
sometimes,
invest.
yeah, I think because you have to make her the 6-7 as opposed to him already being dropped
Fair.
as a 7-6.
Fair.
I think having the 2-2 variety is pretty good.
Definitely hit us up in the comments and let us know what you guys think about the 2-2 relationship between her and the Wildclaw. I think it's definitely worthy of discussion. So, she would come down as a 3-8. She might not be able to kill those 4 health guys. So you got to take that into consideration. Whereas if you drop the Wildclaw can kill pretty damn near anything. And but at the same time, she might have more upside long term because of her ability to trade so efficiently across the board. So, not to mention her synergies with the deck as a whole. Let us know what you guys think about that. When do you run Wildclaw in a different deck? Are you running Scarmother with your Scarmothers, or do you feel like they can coexist? Let us know what you guys think about that.
And then to keep in mind the fact that we're considering adding 3 Avalanches, we have 2 Death Lotuses, we have the 2 Blade Edges.
Yeah,
we have the 3 Vladimirs that we're considering to throw in there.
And there's cards like the Transfusion that are not in there yet that we plan on adding into the deck. So let us know what you guys think.
A lot to think about. All right, and the next one that I only have one of, which is the Crimson Awakener. So when he's summoned, he deals 1 to all other allies. His stat line's pretty good. You can play him without other people being there. But if you do play him with people being there, of course, if they benefit from being damaged and that raising their stat or proccing their keywords, then that's great too. Sometimes I wish I didn't have him, only because, like, let's say my person's only down to 1.
Yeah, and
then
you don't want to play him.
Yeah, that sucks. Especially if it gets down. I've had a lot of instances where my deck will get down, or my hand will be down to like just a spell in him, and it's like, then I pull another card that's really weak and defensively, and it might kill them. So I like him for the idea of what he does. But I do have to wonder sometimes if there's something better than him. It's hard to say.
So I had him in my deck before, and I removed him because of what you mentioned, that he self-harms your units, and there are instances where you have a 1 HP unit that you don't want to play him into, or there are 2 HP units, let's say, that you don't want to get down to 1 HP,
so they can block.
Because then now spiders and anything else could just trade in favorably into your 5-1, your 8-1.
Unless you're going up by 3 and getting overwhelmed.
Unless you get the overwhelm, but then now you're investing kind of like 2 cards more or less, and you're still a 5-5 body.
But you're also encouraging your opponent to block with that 1-1.
Yeah, to get the extra damage off.
A lot of damage.
Absolutely, and I think that's different synergies.
Yeah.
I think that this is the only deck that Awakener would be viable in.
Yes.
And if you drop him alone, a turn 4 for a 5/5 is great. If you drop him in a synergistic situation where you're empowering one of your units, whether it's the 3/8 or the 2/4 or the 0/3, it's great. Or the 2/3 when you deal 2 extra damage and you're still stacking your Vladimir stacks.
Yeah.
That's also good. He's a good card. It's situational because it's only good in this deck, the Vladimir deck. And I think not having him until we explore him wouldn't be good in terms of exploring how far this deck could go with the mid-range deck of this, because a turn 4 or 5/5 is crazy to deal with. So I think you either have to keep 1 or put 2 to see how he works within the deck and evaluate it from there.
Okay.
I like this guy. I like him almost like a 2 or a 3.
Really?
Because one key word that is really important in card game, and it is tempo. So if we look at the sequence of drops, on turn 1, Unscathed. Turn 2, Aristocat, power up by 2. Turn 3, 2/4. Turn 4, this guy. That would put your 0/3 to a 7/1 given, right? Mm-hmm. Now, but from a tempo perspective, if they were unable to clear anything on your board, you now have a 7/1, a 5/5, a 5/3, and a 2/1 that is just there to trade with things because it already did its effect.
Okay.
That's good. That's good tempo. If your opponent starts with a slow start, which happens sometimes, turn 1, turn 2, they don't got nothing.
Right.
And you tempo out like that, and then they drop like a shadow seek. They're not gonna catch back up. Not with that Shadow Seeker. They're gonna have to Vile Feast your
7/1.
That's at this turn even. Like they're not gonna Vile Feast it before that because they don't want to power it up.
Yeah.
So tempo. Sometimes you'll win just with tempo.
Okay.
And then in the event where you're behind and they're clearing all your stuff, you drop a 5/5 on turn 4. Phenomenal stat line. If they get to turn 4 first and they clear you out, you haven't done anything yet, you drop the 5/5 at the end of the turn, you right back in it. You can attack at the beginning of your turn after that, or you can, get into dropping other units and stuff like that.
All right.
I think I would prefer to see, like he said, this is the only deck that can use this guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe there may be some ephemeral synergies, or
maybe
not ephemeral, but Last Breath with Shadow Isles. Maybe it's a reach, but I do believe that that he has great value on curve. He has great value as a comeback play if you're trying to get back into it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like when you drop in Demacia, when you drop the girl that has the lifesteal and the tough.
Yeah.
She's a 5, but she drops on like turn 5. I think she's a 5/5, turn 5. Yep. And she has great effects if you can get the situation right.
Yep.
He has great upside if you can get the situation right. Mm-hmm. If the situation's wrong, then he'll be like alone, and which is still not bad. If the situation's awful, then you won't play him because you risk killing your own guy. Mm-hmm. That's the downside that you're afraid of. In which case, I would hope that the deck has enough balance to where you would have another option, so that way you'd be able to get back to him maybe on the following turn, or you could force a trade with the person that has the 1 health and then drop him at the end of the turn instead of dropping him at the beginning of the turn.
I agree. You know what? And the more that I listen to that, I think the more that I agree with the fact that we need to try this guy with at least 2 ofs to get this guy more consistently, because of the fact you have avalanches and death lotuses and things of that nature that could proc other stuff, and this guy could either boost, or as he mentioned, your 1 HP units could trade in and then drop this guy as a 5/5 live body.
Yeah.
Maybe too much for a lot of decks to be able to deal with for the next 2 turns.
From a tempo perspective, just boom, 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 boom. Every turn I got something for you. What you gonna do? You over there stashing your mana for the 9s, but I'm not casting spells. Who cares?
Yeah. Or you're playing 2/1 elusives or 3/2s, and I'm playing a 2/4 that turns into a 5/3 and a 5/5.
They have to block.
They have to start blocking.
And they won't be able to block this efficiently with anything they drop. This is guaranteed to kill 2 people.
Right, at least.
Unless they twin disciplines and raise their attacks.
But either way,
now you're getting a 2-for-1.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll still be. So I agree. I think again, this is the deck that this card would usually only work in. I think he's worth exploring further into, and I think 2 ofs or probably 3 ofs to see how he works would be viable.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Tempo.
Very
Keyword.
interesting.
Tempo.
Keyword. Tempo.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you watch the next video in this series and join in the discussion by leaving a comment below. Like, subscribe, and take care, my dears. Bye.